Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A very warm welcome to Meet Menaca, episode 79. Today, we are going to talk about tobacco de-addiction and how it plays an important role in cancer. Today's speaker is Dr. Rohan. Before we go into speaking about the speaker, let me tell about the show. What is Meet Menaca? We speak about real people, real stories, and also we bring in experts in various fields to make a difference in the society and individually and collectively to everyone. Please support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and be a change maker yourself. Dr. Rohan is among few full-time tobacco treatment specialists in India. He is currently working in awareness department of organization India Cancer Society. He is also founder president of Rotary Club of Addiction Prevention. Dr. Rohan has a bachelor's degree in homeopathy from C. Patel Homeopathic Medical College in Mumbai in 2005 and also MBA in social entrepreneurship from Nasi Manji Institute of Management Studies in Mumbai. He has more than 15 years of experience in the medical field. It's a privilege to get Dr. Rohan on the show, and I know him for a while now. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Rohan.
Thank you.
Of course, we all know what tobacco can do for someone in life. And cancer is a word, the big C, we are hearing more and more often these days. Many of us are very well aware of the link between the tobacco and cancer. I know you also received a Rotary International Vocational Excellence Award as well, Rohan, for what you do. In your opinion, why is tobacco de-addiction important?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you for inviting me. The question is very important and very apt. The reason tobacco de-addiction is important because if you consider, I'll just speak in the beginning with the Indian context. If you see in India, 90% of all the oral cancers in India are because of tobacco related. More than 40% of all other cancers are tobacco related. If you see across the globe, even then, the tobacco is a major cause for 8 out of 10 cause of deaths. So if you see, it's a risk factor for all the diseases, the life-threatening diseases. It's a major risk factor for majority of the cause of deaths. So tobacco is called as one of the most preventable cause of death. No one can force you to consume the tobacco products. It's the person's wish. So we call it as one of the most preventable cause of deaths. And in cancer, as we all are aware, prevention is what we are looking out for. We should always, prevention and early detection is what is supposed to be the best thing for treating cancers. So considering this thing, today India is, again, I am from India, so I will speak about India a little more. But you understand today, India is number one in oral cancers. The reason being we have maximum number of chewing tobacco users in India today. And that makes us world number one in oral cancers, which is very sad. Between 2012 to 2019, there was more than 114% rise in oral cancer cases in India. And this is all productive age group people dying. So the entire family has to suffer. And again, I said cancer is just one disease. It affects tobacco also is a cause for majority of the other life-threatening diseases like cardiovascular diseases and so on. So it's not only about cancers, it's also about many life-threatening diseases, and we are losing lives of people in a productive age group, and which could be totally prevented. So tobacco de-addiction is something which has to be promoted at very urgent level at all the places across the globe. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. And I know you're very passionate about this, and you're doing a great job, across the globe. So the main questions in my mind is, in your opinion, why do people get into these addictions in the first place?
Yeah, this is important to understand because there is enough awareness now that people know this tobacco is harmful and tobacco causes cancer. And even the packet, if you see the tobacco product packet also mentions about it, ki this is injurious to health or this causes cancer. Majority of the time, there are photographs of cancer mentioned on the tobacco product itself. In spite of all this thing, why do people get into this kind of addictions? So before getting into the tobacco addiction specifically, let me tell you about in general about addictions. Why do people get into addiction in first place? So there are four important reasons for why do people get into any addictions. The first reason is the characteristic of the chemicals present in these substances. So like gold has some characteristics, silver has some characteristics, mercury has some characteristics. Similarly, these chemicals which are present in these drug substances have certain characteristics. By nature, by characteristics, they're addictive in nature. So like tobacco has nicotine into it. Now this nicotine chemical is one of the most addictive substance found in the world. Means if 10 people are smoking for the first time, there are high chances that 8 to 9 of them will get into the addiction, because this nicotine by characteristic is addictive. It will go into the body, create receptor level changes, and these receptors will keep on demanding for more and more nicotine. So this characters of the chemical itself is that it is addictive. So like gold and silver, this nicotine is characteristic is that it is addictive. Similarly, there is something in alcohol, there is something in narcotic drugs. So the first reason why do people get into this addiction is the characteristic of the chemicals present in these substances. This is the first reason. Second reason is person's personality. If my personality is strong enough, good enough, I can have that confidence, or I can stay away from wrong things. I can say no to wrong things. Like I won't fall prey easily to peer pressure, friends pressure, or I won't fall prey to stressful conditions. I can still cope up and I can still stay away from it. So your personality plays a very important role, and that is the second reason. Third is your friend and family support. Your friend and family support plays a major role. If you have a good friend support and good family support, there are less chances that people get into the addictions. And even if they get into addiction, we also involve friend and family to get people out of the addictions. So this is the third important reason, that friend and family support. And the fourth reason is stressful condition. It is often seen that the people exposed to stressful conditions, stressful environment, or stressful work conditions, the chances of these people getting into addiction is on the higher scale. So these are the four important reasons why do people get into any kind of addictions. I repeat, it's first is the characteristic of the substances present in this drugs. Second is person's personality. Third is friend and family support. And fourth is your stressful conditions. If you see tobacco specifically, why do people get into tobacco habit in spite of being mentioned and people being aware that it is something which is not an edible thing and it is going to cause you harm? So there are certain internal, external, and environmental factors. So if you see the internal factors, there are certain internal beliefs. Like people have a belief ki, okay, this may be causing cancer, but cancer won't happen to me. It is a wrong belief. Like in COVID, people just roam without mask and don't follow COVID protocol. They feel that they won't get COVID, they won't get corona. This is a wrong beliefs which people have. Another belief what youngsters have today, that I should try everything once in life. So there's a curiosity in youngsters. They want to try new things. So in spite of knowing, they just think, okay, let me try for once. So these are certain things, internal reasons, what we call this is the internal thing. Second is the external thing, like the immediate family and your colleagues and your immediate family and friend and your relatives. If they are into this habit, there are high chances that is external influence. The person also can start doing it. And the another thing is the environment. This environment, when I say, it's about your media, your society, the exposure to the this in your prominent in your television or your movies, how they showcase this, how they glamorize all these things. So this is continuously bombarded on the individual, and then looking up to this, idolizing these people, and they start doing it. So these are the environmental factors influencing the person. So these are the reasons why do people start doing it. Another thing is the peer pressure. As I said, it is one of the reasons that people fall prey to this peer pressure, friends pressure, and start doing it. So these are certain reasons why do people start consuming tobacco in spite of the knowing the fact that it is going to cause them harm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You explained it really well. It's multifactorial. Any addiction is because people often think, they know it's bad, so it's their problem. They have to face the consequences. But it is not as simple or easy. It's a very complex subject. And I think it's really important to understand why people do what they do. It's not that they don't want to get out of it. In a way, they are as helpless as people are who are trying to make them get out of it, because even they're trying, but it's not an easy process. Rohan, I know you speak about particularly tobacco addiction rather than anything. Can you tell me, there are so many different addictions. right? For alcohol, the drug addictions, the gambling. So what is unique about the tobacco addiction in itself?
Yeah, this is important because most of us treat tobacco like any other addiction or kind of a secondary addiction. It is more accepted in the society, but we need to understand the uniqueness. This uniqueness helps us to treat the patients also. So when you see a tobacco addiction, it is not a simple addiction. It is a triple kind of addiction. What we call is a three types of addictions acting at the same time. When you consider tobacco addiction, it is a three types of addiction. What are these three types of addiction? It is a physical addiction, it is a psychological addiction, and it is a behavioral addiction. So these three types of addiction, physical, psychological, and behavioral, are acting on this particular person who is consuming tobacco. So what do you mean by physical addiction? The word physical itself says mentions that there are certain physical level changes happening in the body. That is the reason why we call it physical addiction. So when you take consume tobacco, basically you are consuming thousands of chemicals along with the particular tobacco product. Out of which around 200 are poisonous, 60 to 65 carcinogenic chemicals are entering your body. But there is a chemical called as nicotine, which I just mentioned, is the main reason, is the main culprit. So this nicotine goes into your body and creates receptor level changes. Now these are actual physical receptor level changes, so we call it physical addiction. So these receptors then keep on demanding for more and more nicotine, and that is how this nicotine demand is there, and the person keeps on taking the next cigarette or the next tobacco product to suffice this particular urge. So this is called as physical addiction because there are physical receptor level changes. So this is the first type of addiction. Second is the psychological addiction. When I say psychological addiction, it is a strong psychological association which the person develops with this particular product. You will see people mentioning about smoking, like whenever I am stressed, I need to smoke, or whenever I want to do a creative work, I need to smoke, or for having smooth bowel movements, I need to smoke, or I consume some tobacco product. So this is a strong psychological association which they have developed. We all don't need to smoke if you are in stress. We don't smoke to have a smooth bowel movements. But this particular person has developed a strong psychological association with that particular tobacco product. So this is what we call it psychological addiction. And the third is behavioral addiction. Behavioral addiction is nothing but doing a certain things over a period of time. It becomes part of your routine, daily routine. So you start doing it subconsciously. So this is called as a behavioral addiction. It is becoming a part of your routine. So this can be further divided into time, place, person, and thing. When you talk about behavior, it is time, place, person, and thing. So there are people who will tell you that I don't normally smoke, but only in evening time I need to smoke. Or you will see people telling you, I normally don't smoke, but when I go to this place or this club, only then I need to smoke. Person is like, I normally don't smoke, but when I'm with this friend's circle, I need to smoke. And thing is like, after having alcohol, I need to smoke, or with alcohol, I need to smoke, or after dinner or lunch, I need to smoke. So this is just becoming a part of the routine. So time, place, person, thing can define this routine. So this is called as behavioral addiction. Now, it's not necessary that every person may have all these three addictions who is into tobacco. Sometimes he may have only behavioral addiction also and may not have developed that stage of highly physical dependence. But majority of the time, there are cases where all these three addictions are acting on a person at the same time. So it is easy for me as a doctor to tell the person that you should quit tobacco, you should immediately get rid of tobacco habit. But it is very difficult for that particular person because all these three addictions are acting on him at the same time. So first we need to understand with the proper history taking what is the addiction, what are the addictions acting on this particular person, and accordingly we then design our treatment pattern or the counseling pattern. So these are this is something uniqueness about tobacco addiction. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. I think it's true to many other addictions. Also, they did a experiment on particularly on tobacco smoking, and they came across about mindfulness and how you can help to tobacco addiction. There's a huge study, I'm sure you're well aware of it. When they asked them to be mindful, they didn't tell them not to stop smoking. They didn't tell them how harmful it is. They just said, only thing you have to do is you can keep smoking as much as you need to, but you cannot do anything else. Exactly like you mentioned, you can't have alcohol or speaking to people or having coffee or doing anything else. When you smoke, just smoke. And that's about it. The study found out many people in the study came back and said they were so amazed. Why were they still smoking? Because some people said the taste was so bad. and they couldn't even tolerate that taste or the smell, and they gave up themselves. But I think it's just because they suddenly became aware of it. They took that associations away and made them focus on just that one thing, and then they suddenly became aware of what is it doing for them. And I think famously, when I was in dental school, some of my dental school colleagues are here. These guys used to sing, with a cigarette in the hand you feel like a man, and it finishes with a cigarette in the hand you're a dead man. It is so true, but the awareness was still not there. People thought it's very fashionable. It was prescribed at one point. We have evolved. And I think people who actually brought this out and introduced to the rest of the world, they have worked very hard and got out of it. Unfortunately, we have embraced it, and we have started using, and particularly, like you said, different forms of tobacco, isn't it? Chewing tobacco is very particular for Asia or in India, like you mentioned. It's not done across the globe, so it's a very unique problem into certain parts of the world. You have eloquently told us how complex this addiction can be, Rohan. Can you tell us what are the different tobacco products these people consume? Because particularly in the West, people think if it's tobacco, you smoke. And it's not as simple, right? So as an expert, what's your opinion and what is your take on it?
Yeah, so this is very important because people have certain wrong concepts about tobacco and tobacco products. So people, when they speak about tobacco, as you mentioned, they think only about smoking, but it's not the fact. Across the globe, every country, every state has its own speciality and every unique tobacco product. So if you consider India, yes, rightly mentioned by you, it has n number of chewing tobacco products and those products which are not smoking products also, along with the smoking products. But to begin with, I just want to make three important points which everyone should remember about tobacco. The first thing is, no matter what tobacco product it is going to be harmful. No matter what tobacco product, made from any country, any form, whatever, either you're chewing it, you're applying it, or you're smoking it, or it may be a hookah or an e-cigarette, everything. If there is tobacco, it is going to be harmful. So this is the first thing which all should remember. Wherever there is tobacco, it is definitely going to be harmful. Second thing, no matter what quantity you are consuming it, it's not necessary that only if you're consuming a higher quantity, like 10 20 cigarettes or more of chewing tobacco, or consumption is more, daily consumption is more, it is going to affect you. It's not like that. Even one cigarette or one tobacco product, or once having it once a day, any tobacco product, still it is going to be harmful. So the first thing is, no matter what tobacco product you are consuming. Second thing is, no matter what quantity you are consuming. And the third thing is, no matter what duration you are consuming. It's not necessary that if you are consuming tobacco for years together, only then you're going to land up into any serious life-threatening illnesses. Even after consuming tobacco for a shorter duration, it is still going to be very harmful. So going back to products, as you rightly mentioned, there are n number of tobacco products. So there are smoking and chewing tobacco products, which we can divide it majority into. So this smoking as cigarettes, in India, we also have something called as BDs and hookahs and cigars, or chirruts, what you call in India in the local term. So if you see cigarettes, everyone is aware of a cigarette, but still the people have misconcept that cigarettes have filter into it, so it is safer. So it's nothing like that. These filters are not going to make cigarettes safer in any form. So there's a research which says that when a person is smoking one cigarette, single cigarette, he is exposed to almost 4,000 to 7,000 chemicals, out of which 200 are poisonous, out of which 60 to 65 are proven carcinogenic. Carcinogenic chemicals are those which have capacity to produce cancer. So imagine a person smoking one cigarette, he's exposed to so many chemicals every day. So this is about cigarettes, and the cigarettes companies will claim to market these products like something like Gold Flake Light or Sim cigarette or low tar cigarette or ladies cigarette. This is just to fool people. Every cigarette is going to cause you cancers, or every cigarette is going to cause the same harm. So this is just to fool people. So that was about cigarettes. Then comes the BDs, which are popular in India. They are very cheaper and they are very easily available. So the consumption is much more. Then is the hookah, or what you call as shisha. You must have seen in movies, or you must have seen in photographs, and it's very popular in different areas of the world. Also in India, it is again the law has given permission, so they again started the hookah parlors or the shisha parlors. But it is let me make it very clear: this hookahs are 4 times more dangerous than a cigarette, because the thing is, the hookah session itself lasts for hours together. One cigarette can burn up in like 5 to 10 minutes, but hookah session itself is for hours together, like 40 minutes, more than an hour. So the exposure is more. So attending to one hookah session is like exposed to consuming 25 to 30 cigarettes. Second is the hookah will companies claim that there are a lot of flavors into it. But no matter what flavor it is, the hookah packet also mentions on it that nicotine content so and so. So no hookah flavor is going to be without tobacco. So this is again very important thing that you are again exposed to tobacco. Third thing is the different gases, different chemicals released out of it. One of them is carbon monoxide, which is again a very deadly gas for humans. Another thing is the interstitial lung disease. One of the disease of the lungs, which is interstitial lung disease. Our lungs are elastic organ. Because of the elasticity, when we breathe the air, lungs expand because of the elasticity of the tissue. What happens in this interstitial lung disease? The lung tissue gets fibrosed. It becomes like a stone. And the major reasons for this interstitial lung disease is cigarette smoking, BD smoking, and hookah smoking. So there are cases with hookah smoking also people landing up into interstitial lung diseases. So this is something very serious thing. So that was about hookahs. And in India, there are cigars and cheroots also famous. Another thing is electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes. So obviously they're wrongly called as e-cigarettes. They're basically drug dispensing devices. The only difference with this electronic cigarettes is that here the tobacco is present into a liquid form. And this is a very unorganized sector. These electronic cigarettes are prepared by very unorganized sectors. So WHO, World Health Organization, has not yet approved any of the electronic cigarettes. But though many of the countries are doing a lot of research and trying to claim that is electronic cigarettes are something substitute for cigarettes, which is not true. World Health Organization has strictly mentioned that this is not true. More than 30 countries have banned electronic cigarettes, the sale of electronic cigarettes. Even it is banned in India. So it's very unfortunate that people look up to this electronic cigarettes as something as substitute or harm reduction techniques. And there are a lot of clinical papers produced because of the pressure of this tobacco lobby. But this is not at all true. Electronic cigarettes are an entry point for youngsters today. They feel it's fancy and all. Here, the tobacco is present in a liquid form and there are batteries present because of which the combustion happens. But it's totally harmful. It is not at all safe. It affects every system of your body. And like tobacco, it is also affecting at the DNA level. So it is causing you the same harm like tobacco. So I want to make it very clear. None of the electronic devices, these electronic cigarettes, which are vapes or jewels or anything, these are totally harmful. They are promoted as a wrongly as safe equipments. Another thing about chewing tobacco is another hugely consumed product. Majority in the Asian countries, there are m number of tobacco products. I cannot mention all of them at present, but I just try to understand every tobacco product is dangerous. There are different names and the method of consumption changes. Some are to be kept in the mouth, some are to be applied. There are sophisticated tobacco toothpaste by the brand name of Ipco and Dentobac. There are fine tobacco products which are fine powdered and taken through the nose, which we call as snuff in English, but there are local terms in India. We call it chikni, tapkir, or naswar. There are pan, where the betel nut and the leaf, the tobacco is put and consumed. So these are this is also very popular in Asian countries, also in India. One more thing is I want to also mention about arakanut. Arakanut is supari, what we call in India. This arakanut or betel nut is not a tobacco family. It is a different thing. But arakanut, there are a lot of research today available in India, and there are a lot of cancers which are brought because of this particular arakanut. There are a lot of pre-cancerous and cancers conditions developing because of this arakanut. Though it is used in a lot of traditional practices in India, this arakanut is also a major culprit, causing a lot of life-threatening diseases. So that was about tobacco products. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think it was such an important question answered there, because particularly, like you mentioned, a lot of teenagers or a lot of youngsters get into particularly the e-cigarettes or the shishas. It's becoming very fashionable in the social settings. But once you get in, I think, as you rightly mentioned as an expert, the physical, the psychological, the behavioral things kick in and the complexities grow, and then they could easily be drawn into other things as well. First of all, these are not safe on its own. And on top of it, they might need the rush of those chemicals to get going, and they might explore other things. So it's really, really important and thank you so much, Rohan, for particularly addressing the e-cigarettes and because Shisha, I live in the UK. Today I'm posting from Sri Lanka for personal reasons, but in the UK, it is very common. And including a lot of healthcare professionals, I see them using these things and think it is fashionable to use in social settings. So thank you so much for bringing the awareness for that. We have touched on what are the different types of tobaccos users and what are the complexity of the addiction. And as a dentist, I must also say I have seen patients personally myself with pan chewing or tobacco chewing having submucous of fibrosis. That is a condition where your mouth opening gets reduced quite a lot. And as dentists, we find it very difficult to treat them. As patients, they find it very hard to clean their teeth, and of course they can become cancer, and so all different things. So any type, like you mentioned, I can't help but reiterate the danger of tobacco in any form or shape. Doesn't matter how attractive it sounds. Unfortunately, injurious to health is always in the small print. It is kind of hidden. It is placed with your psychology. Moving on from there, Rohan, why is it so difficult to practice tobacco de-addiction then? Because as a society, individually, collectively, we have spoken, it is about addiction, it's difficult. But why do you think it is difficult to practice tobacco de-addiction as a society for all of us?
Yeah, this is very important because we don't have so many tobacco treatment specialists, or we don't have facilities easily available for people who want to quit the habit, and there are very less people who are actually helping people to get out of this habit. In our medical colleges, we don't been taught about tobacco de-addiction specifically. It's one of the neglected topics, to be very frank. Secondly, this particular process somehow is misunderstood, or it is not known to people, though it's very simple. It's not a rocket science. World Health Organization has laid down certain good protocols. We call it 5 protocols, the 5R protocols, which has to be systematically followed so that we can help the person in the need to get him out of the tobacco habit. Yes, this is one of the thing about tobacco addiction or any addiction. The success rate is definitely less, because addiction itself, we know that it has a very poor success rate. So if you're putting so much efforts, you also expect some kind of satisfaction from this particular efforts. But considering an addiction field, the success rate is low. But having said that, my personal experience about tobacco addiction is very good. This is one of the easiest addiction to help the person to come out from. Internationally, 20% is also supposed to be good, but in tobacco, my personal success rate is above 50%. Of course, it depends from different setups what you're practicing. So when you're practicing in a hospital kind of a setup, definitely the success rate is much more. But if in a clinical setup, it might be different, and different in an industrial kind of a setup where you're counseling the employees for tobacco addiction. Having said that, the reason being why people are not more into it, because definitely first of all they have their own work or own as a priority to do. And if you see the tobacco addiction, it is little bit time consuming also. So you need to counsel the person, you need to spend some time with them, because counseling cannot be done in a 5 minutes thing. And another thing is, with any addiction, is a regular follow up. So we need to handhold a person, and that hand holding is very important. So your first counseling is important, but equally important is your regular follow up, because that is when the relapse happen, that is when the withdrawals come up. So if you are able to take the care of the person and hand hold him during this withdrawal phase, there are high chances that then the person gets out of it. So typically in a tobacco addiction, first 2 to 4 weeks, the withdrawals are very frequent. I mean, they're very strong. There's a proper research available. What are these withdrawals? And the best part of tobacco addiction is the withdrawals are never ever life threatening. So no one is going to die because of quitting tobacco. Secondly, they are mostly mind related. So it can be taken care at daycare basis. You don't require any hospitalization for that. And third thing is, the research is available that they don't last for more than 2 to 4 weeks. 2 to 4 weeks are maximum time where the withdrawals last for. So in the initial phase, we need to have a frequent withdrawal. And today with the technology coming up, we need not even meet the person. We can just give him a phone call and see to it that he's continuing that particular abstinence, and we need to support him if he's at all finding any difficulty for it. But by doing this thing, good counseling followed by a regular follow-up frequently in the first 4 weeks, and then at least doing the hand holding for at least 6 months. That is what we consider, that initial 6 months are very important for any person getting out of this habit. But if you understand this, it is a little bit dedication and little bit tedious process, and regular follow-up is to be maintained. Only then it is possible for the person to quit. But having said that, this particular thing will give you a lot and lot of satisfaction, which I am experiencing. I've counseled so many people and I've helped so many people, and it is an immensely satisfying job. And I wish and I train more and more doctors and dentists also, and healthcare providers also, to get into this field, because today we as a population in India, there are more than 40% of adult population consuming some or the other kind of tobacco product, which is very serious and very alarming thing. So we need more people to come up and help people. So if you see World Health Organization, it mentions certain things to control this particular tobacco entire thing. So this, they also mentioned about something called as Empower acronym, MPOWER. So it talks about doing awareness, it talks about strengthening the laws, it talks about tobacco cessation, tobacco de-addiction. So there are countries doing a lot of other things, like they are coming up with laws where the revenue, where the taxation on the products are increasing, the pictorial warning size is increasing. They are doing a lot of awareness. But this particular thing of tobacco cessation or tobacco de-addiction is something a missing particular in the particular loop. It should also be emphasized more, and more and more facilities should be provided. So as the tobacco is easily available, the tobacco de-addiction facilities should also be easily available, because 7 out of 10 people want to quit. If you ask people that have you ever tried to quit, they will tell yes, I tried to quit, but I was not able to do it for more than 1 day, 2 days, 7 days. So if you counsel or target this patient, even then it's a huge number. So there is a huge need for that tobacco de-addiction facilities, and there are certain reasons why we don't have. People are not getting into it because it is a bit tedious thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, because you raised a very important point there. As healthcare professionals, I think we have a huge role to play in tobacco de-addiction, and you have an acronym like that. In the UK, we have an acronym which we are supposed to be using, the 5 A's. They are the ask, advise, assess, assist, and arrange. So so that's what we practice here in the UK. Yes, that's what we usually use. So ask is identify and document that how much tobacco you use, and advice is like in a clear, strong way. We tell them what are the harm in it, and assess. Are they willing to quit? Isn't it? It's a bit like a diet. Including myself, most of people are yo-yo dieters, and it's the same with anything else, like smoking as well. And then, of course, assist them. It's a very, very important point, isn't it, Rohan, to be non-judgmental or critical? Because I think if you start from that point, you can guarantee it's not going to work. So it's really important to be understanding, empathetic, and show compassion and go from that place. And then, of course, it's important to arrange the subsequent follow-up meetings and see what's happening. I think most of the time what happens is in this today's hectic world, nobody has time, and I think that's where most of them fall off with the follow-up. What is your take on it, Rohan? I know you are aware of this.
Yeah, this is a very important point you have raised, because first of all, we need to be very empathetic, and we need to be there's something called as rapport building. So otherwise, what will happen is you will lose a patient, you will lose a case, because if the person is not mentioning about the habit, or the person is not opening up, what are the reasons, why is he, even if he mentions about a tobacco habit, we need to understand what are the reasons why he's doing it. Only then we can classify him into the particular stages of which addiction he is, and accordingly we can do our treatment thing. This is the point what you have raised. I would also like to mention one more thing. There is a psychological concept called as stages of mind. So this is a basic generalized concept. It's not only specifically for tobacco, but try to understand a person who is into the tobacco habit also comes with a different states of mind to us. So to explain this particular theory, I would use another example apart from tobacco. So if there is a fat or obese person, we know, we can see he's fat, he's overweight. But if you tell him that you should lose weight, the person will say, no, I'm okay with it. I don't feel I'm fat. So this is what you call is a pre-contemplation stage of mind. So what is this pre-contemplation stage, where the person has not even accepted that he is overweight, he's not accepted he is fat. Similarly thing with a smoker. If you go and tell a smoker to quit, that it is affecting your body, he will tell, no, I'm enjoying it, I'm okay with it. So he is in a pre-contemplation stage where he has not accepted the fact that it is affecting him. There is a second stage after pre-contemplation, we call it a contemplation stage. What happens in this contemplation stage? The fat person starts thinking on it. oh, if everyone is saying, even the doctor is telling me, or even I am facing difficulties while doing my work, so I think my weight is more and I should do something about it. So this is called as contemplation stage, where the fat person has at least started thinking about it. And the smoker, the same way, has started thinking about it. Okay, this smoking is affecting me, or a lot of people are telling, the doctor is also telling, while climbing, I am facing difficulties. I think this is because of smoking. I should do something about it. So he has started thinking about it. He has not done anything about it. So this is a contemplation stage. Then comes the preparation stage. What happens in the preparation stage? The fat person will, book the membership or pay the money for the membership of the gym, but he has not started going to the gym. So this is what we call as a preparation stage, where the smoker will give you a quit date. He has not yet quit, but he is giving you a quit date. So this is a preparation stage. After the preparation stage, it will come the action stage. So pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, then action. In this action stage, the fat person has started going to the gym, and the smoker has quit or stopped smoking completely. So this is the action stage. They have taken that action. Now, after this action stage, there are two possibilities. Either it would be maintenance or it would be a relapse. What is a maintenance? Where the fat person continues going to the gym. That is what we call as maintenance. But there are chances where the fat person may stop going, then it would be a relapse, whether he has stopped going to the gym. Same thing with the smoker. He has stopped smoking completely, but there are chances that after a month, he might smoke one cigarette, what we call as slip, and he continues it. But there are high chances that his slip might get into a relapse where he goes back to his 10 or 20 cigarettes. That is a complete relapse. So this is we call as a maintenance or relapse stage. So we need to understand when the person is coming to us, as you said, it for that rapport building and all is important, but at the same time, understanding his state of mind is important, because according to this state of mind, our counseling techniques are going to differ. If the person is in the pre-contemplation stage, I cannot give him the same counseling for a person who has come to me in the preparation or action stage. So there it has to be different. In the action stage, I'll talk about more about how to prevent a relapse. If it is in the preparation stage, I will give him the roadmap, how you should do, what are things you should do. If he's in the pre-contemplation stage, I will talk to him about the risk and the rewards of quitting. And when I talk about risk, it is not only the health risk. I'll talk about the health risk, economic risk, and the social risk. And when I talk about rewards, I will also talk about the health rewards, economic rewards, and social rewards. So this is a different counseling technique we have to use at different people with different state of mind. Only then your counseling would be effective. Your treatment or tobacco treatment would be effective, so that we can get a good success rate at the end of the day. So this also things are very important when you're practicing tobacco cessation. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. I think it comes in the assess stage, isn't it, to know whether they are pre-contemplative stage or contemplative stage, and tell them about it. Yes, about the weight, I can totally relate to it. Most of the times we are in denial. So yes, it is important to know where they are and how to approach them. And even as a coach or trainer, I talk about habit formation and success habit building. And even recently I wrote about it. It is knowing the complexities of it and start small. What has worked for me as a dentist with a couple of patients, and even only 2 people have trained, not many, so I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination in this way of world. But what I told them is just reduce 1 cigarette every week or even a month. It's okay. And those people who reduced 1 cigarette every week or every month, 6 months later, they have reduced quite considerably how many cigarettes they smoke than the people who just snap and they said, okay, fine, we are just going to give up. I'm not saying it won't work for people, for my own patients and for a couple of people who I worked with. Those have made a huge difference long term. And I think it's like any other habit. From there, I'm not an expert in this tobacco addiction, as I mentioned. So from my point of view, it was about any habit, isn't it? First of all, assessing, is it harmful or helpful? And if it is harmful, okay, how are you going to get rid of it? And for me, it is also association. Everyone in this arena now has identified me as the chocoholic dentist. So if I'm going to reach out to the chocolate, why do I go and harm the chocolate? Under what circumstances? What am I associated with? Can we replace it with something else? Instead of chocolate, can I speak to a friend when I'm stressed, or go out and do something else? So I'm sure it is the same, isn't it, Rohan? Okay. So it's so important for healthcare professional people who are helping, and the family and friends and society, is to be more compassionate and be kind and non-judgmental. And I cannot stress enough this, because people say, oh, they are addict. they're smoker, they're alcoholic, they are drug abuser, but there's always a story behind. If you don't walk in their shoes, you don't know why they're doing what they're doing. So I think that's the point I wanted to raise. Thank you so much, Rohan. It was really important, and I like the way you broke it down and put it in a systematic way so people can understand it really well. Now, going back to even because every single patient I ask, do you smoke? Are you willing to give up? Are you thinking of quitting? And if not, why? And if it is, why? And have you tried before and why it's not working? We often hear why people who don't consume also get cancers. So why should we quit tobacco? What is your take on it?
Yeah, this is another thing which is, what people have, especially the tobacco consumers will try to give an excuse that it's not only tobacco which causes cancer. Agreed. As I said, it is, if you see the scientific data also, it is one of the major cause and all, but there are definitely other reasons for cancers and other diseases also. But as I said earlier, it is one of the most preventable cause of this. No one is going to force you to consume this. So it is totally preventable. Another thing, if you see, when a child is born, he's born with certain features of his parents because the parents give us the genes. So we look like our parents, our eyes colors, our height is like our parents because we receive that genes from our parents. Another thing to just make you understand, if you go to a diabetes doctor, he will ask you about the diabetic history of your family because certain traits are followed. So when a 3-year-old child also can suffer from cancer, so that cancer 3-year child has not even smoked or he has not even seen a cigarette, but still he suffered from cancer because there are different reasons and genetic conditions and other things because of which he has suffered from that cancer. But just to understand it, we cannot select the best quality of genes from the God. We receive what God gives us the genes, but definitely we can select a lifestyle. We can select what to do and what not to do. No one is going to force you about it. So that is why we call it one of the most preventable cause of death or cancers and other diseases. Another thing I want to mention over here, there are two people who are driving a car, but one person is drinking and driving, drinking alcohol and driving. Second person is not driving or drinking and driving. He is driving normally. So there are whose chance to get into an accident is more. Obviously, the person who is drinking and driving, the chances of getting into accident is much more. But that doesn't mean the person who has never not drunk will never get into an accident. But because of the taking or consumption of alcohol, this particular person has increased the risk of getting into an accident. Similarly, if you see today, we are living in a society, we are living in a world where we are exposed to a lot of pollution, a lot of lifestyle changes, a lot of stress. What we consume has a lot of pesticides into it. So we are already at a risk. And above, if you are taking tobacco, you are increasing the risk of getting into these diseases. Like this particular person who is taking alcohol, he's increased the risk of getting into an accident by taking alcohol. If we are taking tobacco, we are actually increasing the risk of getting into these diseases rather than any other person who is not consuming tobacco. Definitely, if you want to stay healthy, there are certain things which every one of us has to do. It's not that only if I don't consume tobacco or smoking, I would not get any disease. It's not the fact. If you want to stay healthy, you need to have a good food, you need to exercise, you need to have good sleep, and you need to have good mental state also. So there are certain things to stay healthy. But if you are taking this tobacco thing, you are increasing the risk of getting into this particular life-threatening diseases. I hope I could explain it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. It's beautifully explained. I tell two things, and I think one is resonates very much with your thoughts. I tell, road accidents, we all know if you're driving, you might have an accident. It is a probability for everyone. That doesn't mean you don't wear your seatbelt. Or if you wear the seatbelt, you will never have, but you are decreasing your chances of, even if it happens, you are decreasing your chances of after effects. The similar way, I tell some of them, if you're walking in the road, you have a chance of accident. It doesn't mean you're going to stand in the middle of the road saying, I have a chance of dying anyway. Why can't I stand in the middle of the road and see what happens? Nobody does that, right? And it is the same thing with smoking. Why would you want to smoke and take the chance and try? Saying all that, we have already mentioned, it is very complex. It's so much more complex than what meets the eye. It is much more deep-rooted. So that's why it's important to understand that as well. But I think these kind of explanation hopefully will make a difference. Thank you so much, Rohan. The other thing we normally hear is from people who are smokers, they have already been consuming tobacco. So what is the use of quitting tobacco now? what would you answer them?
Yeah, this is a very important question. Good you asked it. The thing is, what people feel that they have already consumed tobacco, and yeah, it has a lot of chemicals which have affected their different body parts, and it has definitely affected their body. Yes, this is absolutely true. If you are consuming tobacco and if you have done it for years together, definitely it has caused damage to the body. But another thing which is very important, which most of people are not aware, that our body has continuous repair going on into it. It is a continuous healing process going into our body. Just to give an example and make you understand, actually, I tell my patients, if you fall down and get an injury, that injury won't remain for lifelong. Why it won't remain for lifelong? Because there is continuous repair happening in our body. There is cell regeneration happening, so the wound gets healed. Similarly, when a person stops consuming tobacco, whatever damage these particular chemicals have caused to these body parts also start getting into a reverse order, into a better thing. So there is a good changes happening in the body as soon as you stop tobacco, as soon as you quit tobacco. And there is a proper research available speaking about what are the good changes happening in the body from 20 minutes of quitting smoking to 15 years of quitting smoking. So within 20 minutes of quitting smoking, your blood pressure and heart rates gets back to normal. Within 12 hours, your carbon monoxide level starts getting back to normal. Within 2 to 12 weeks, your lung function test starts improving. Within 5 to 10 years, your risk to heart attack, stroke, paralysis drops by 50% within 10 years, 5 to 10 years. And within 15 years, you are as good as a non-smoker. Means a person who has never smoked and a person who has quit smoking 15 years back come to a same level to get any cardiovascular disease risk. So try to understand to what level your body can do repair. So the earlier you quit, the earlier the body will get chance to repair. And this is something very important which every doctor, every physician, every healthcare provider should mention to their tobacco consumers, because this is something which is a positive thing. Always the scaring thing won't work out. You should also talk about certain positive aspect of quitting smoking. And this is what I have seen in my personal practice, which has motivated and encouraged the person to give up the particular habit of smoking or consumption of any tobacco. So this health benefits are something which is universally, there is proper research studies available. So it is a fact and it is a proven thing that definitely your body is going into repair, and it is going to do your repair and the repair will start as soon as you stop consuming the tobacco product. So I'm glad that you asked this question, because this was a very important message I wanted to give today. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. It's so important because it's like people who are obese or people who are into drugs and alcohol or smoking. Many people think, they are halfway there anyway. So what's the point of quitting, isn't it? So I think your answer very eloquently explains why they should try. It doesn't matter which stage they are at. So thank you so much for that. I think it adds really a lot of value. Thanks, Rohan. We have spoken about why people get into it, what are the complexities of this addiction, what are the causes and effects of tobacco. And you also spoke about why they should quit and how they can quit. So now I'm going to ask the very important question as an expert. Is it possible to quit, and do people quit successfully?
Yeah, definitely it is possible to quit. And as I said, it depends upon where you are practicing, or different setups have different success rates. But if you consider tobacco de-addiction, first thing, it is definitely possible to quit. This is a very clear and loud message which I want to give. It is definitely possible to quit. I personally practice tobacco de-addiction, and I have helped thousands of patients to quit. And my success rate, as I said, has been about 50%. So my personal experience also, and there's a lot of literature research available. Second thing, there is help available. People have, there are research studies which says that if you get proper guidance, and that too from a healthcare provider in a healthcare setup, the chances of this particular success rate of getting out of the tobacco habit will improve almost 4 times. So if you get a proper guidance and do a proper hand holding, definitely the success rate is also definitely going to increase. So it is very important to get this help, understand how to do it, and if you do it in a proper way, definitely the chances are very high, and the success rate is very good. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Rohan. As an expert, can I ask you one simple question?
Sure.
Today, the audience are listening to you as an expert, and I have to reiterate, it was very powerful message, and your explanations were fantastic and impactful. If people have to take away 5 messages from you, what would they be?
Yeah, there are many actually. But first of all, try to understand that tobacco is not a secondary addiction, because what I feel, people consider tobacco as kind of very normal addiction or secondary. Then the other, because tobacco doesn't cause nuisance in the society or like other drugs, and also it is very accepting. So first of all, that is not true. Nicotine is one of the most addictive substance. It is as addictive as narcotic drugs. So nicotine is very harmful thing. It is a silent killer, and it is actually causing a great harm. So first thing is that the tobacco addiction is a something very serious addiction. Second thing, we need to prevent a lot of people into getting into this. So we are talking about more about tobacco de-addiction and tobacco cessation, but I feel we should also encourage and spread this awareness to our youngsters and kids and all, so that they don't get into this habit. So this is something very important. We have to spread the awareness on a larger scale and make them understand at a logical and scientific level, giving them a proper understanding about this, so that they don't get into it. Third thing is, tobacco treatment is not as difficult as people think. It is a very easy thing. It is not a rocket science. Believe me, it is very simple. And it can be implemented at different setups in a healthcare setup itself, as I said, in a hospital setup, in a clinical setup, as a other setups also very easily. But because it doesn't require any hospitalization, and it doesn't require any kind of have severe withdrawals are there, so it can be definitely taken care of. Another thing is, I would want to give this strong message that I want more and more people to get into this particular field, no matter what background you have. Not necessary you have to always be a doctor to be a part of this field. The major requirement or the major qualification you need to have to be a tobacco de-addiction specialist is that you should be passionate about this cause. You should be passionate to help and support people to get out of this. And the last and the most important thing is that we need to help more and more people and spread this message across, so that we should not target only the tobacco chewers. We should also spread this message and awareness to non-tobacco users also, so that then they can spread this message to other people. So I never target only tobacco chewers or tobacco consumers or smokers. I always have my awareness sessions to our general public, so that they take this message and take it to more and more people, so that more and more people can be saved before they land up into any deadly, life-threatening illnesses. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Rohan. Keep doing the great work you do. And thank you so much for the tips. One last question before I go ahead. What has been your experience with the talk show? Meet Menaca.
Oh, I have been attending the talk shows before also, and that is when I personally requested Dr. Menaca ma'am to give me this opportunity, and she was very humble enough to give me this platform. And I have been a regular participant of all your other videos also, and definitely you are doing a marvelous job, because this important information on different important topics has to reach to people, and you are definitely calling good experts, so that the knowledge of this particular, who have this particular expertise in that knowledge, so that we get the right knowledge from right people. So I think you are doing a wonderful job, and I wish you all the best, and you please continue doing it, so we also get to know from the horse's mouth the experts, whatever topics you cover, and they are definitely going to enrich our life. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Rohan. A lot of respect to you. I think you started this journey of impacting other people much younger than I have. Excellent work. Thank you so much. People who are on the Zoom, please hold on. You will be given a chance to ask the questions to the speaker, as he said, from the horse's mouth in a minute. Hold on until then. Next week, we are going to be talking about oral health awareness part 2. Once again, 5 people who studied with me 3 decades back, dentistry, are going to come back on this platform and share more tips and tools how you can look after your oral health and promoting that. People who are going to be the speakers on that show is Dr. Ajay Bibra, Dr. Frank Leslie Robert, Dr. Pamela Susay, Dr. Usha Sundar and Dr. Lanka Mahesh. I know personally of them for the past 3 decades, as I mentioned, and I know that some of them are experts, professors, and they are lecturing internationally. Some of them are living in the US and Arab countries and back in India. So it's going to be another fun session for me to be hosting people who I know for so many decades. So hope you can join us. For now, over to Dr. Frank for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Menaca, and thank you, Dr. Rohan, for wonderfully explaining to us, all the viewers and all of us. It was an eye-opener. Wonderfully explained, not only to the smokers, but to the non-smokers also. So we as dentists are closely associated, and we'll be helping you to target all this and to get through to the people. So you spoke wonderfully and must have touched many souls, and it's surely going to be a blessing. God bless you. And thank you on behalf of the Meet Menaca's team, and sure to meet you next time again. Yeah, namaskar. And thank all the viewers for getting in online every Sunday after Sunday. And it's been a blessing to all of us, to encourage us, to motivate us to keep this going. And without the viewers, this program wouldn't have been a successful one. So thank you, Menaca and team, and Dr. Rohan especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Waiting to see you as a speaker next week as well. Thank you so much. A huge thank you, Dr. Rohan, once again. It was an excellent session. So thank you so much. And please hold on to people who are on the Zoom. For people who are listening to us on Facebook, it has come to that time of the day to say goodbye. Until we meet you next time to talk about Oral Health Awareness Part 2, stay safe, be happy, and keep smiling.